All right, football fans, let's talk about one of the most feared, respected, and flat-out legendary defensive players in NFL history, Ed Reed. Now, I know when people talk about greatest defenders ever, you hear names like Lawrence Taylor, Deion Sanders, Ray Lewis, but Ed Reed? He's a different kind of animal. He wasn't just a safety. He was the safety. The guy quarterbacks literally had nightmares about. So, how good was Ed Reed actually? Let's break it all down. 1. The ultimate ball hawk. Let's start with what made Reed stand out the most. His ability to turn a quarterback's best throw into his highlight reel. Reed finished his career with 64 interceptions, which puts him 7th all-time. That number alone is insane. But it's not just how many picks he had, it's what he did with them. He holds a record for the most interception return yards in NFL history. 1,590 yards. Think about that for a second. That's like 15 football fields worth of stolen passes, turned back against the very QBs who thought they were being slick. And let's not forget his legendary 107-yard interception return in 2008. That wasn't just a pick. It was like watching a wide receiver or a kick returner weaving through traffic. The man could have been a Pro Bowl punt returner if he wanted to. Now, here's a little fun fact most people don't know. Reed also once had a 106-yard interception return, which means he owns 2 of the longest pick sixes in NFL history. When you're breaking your own records, you know you're on another level. And fans, let me ask you this. If you're building your all-time fantasy defense, are you taking Ed Reed over Deion Sanders as your ball hawk? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because that's a spicy debate right there. 2. Football IQ and instincts. What really separated Ed Reed from every other safety wasn't just athleticism. It was his brain. His football IQ was off the charts. Bill Belichick once said, "Every time you play against Ed Reed, you hold your breath." And if Belichick, the master of preparation, is admitting that, you know Reed was a nightmare. He had this habit of baiting quarterbacks. He'd line up in one spot, make it look like the deep middle was wide open, and then boom, he'd break on the ball the second it left the QB's hand. There's even a famous story about Peyton Manning studying hours of film on Reed, thinking he had figured him out, and Reed still tricked him. Manning said Reed would double bluff quarterbacks. He'd show you something on tape, then do the opposite on game day. That's like playing poker with a guy who wants you to think you're winning until he flips the cards. Now imagine being a quarterback. You've got 300-pound linemen chasing you, the play clock ticking down, and oh yeah, Ed Reed is lurking somewhere in the secondary, disguising his coverage like a magician. No wonder Tom Brady once called him the toughest defender he ever faced. Here's a fun audience question. If you were a QB and had to throw against either Ed Reed or prime Darrelle Revis locking down one side, who would you avoid more? 3. The clutch factor. Now let's talk about big games. Some players rack up stats in regular season blowouts, but Reed was a guy who thrived when the lights were brightest. He had 9 career playoff interceptions, tied for the most in NFL history. That's not just good luck, that's showing up when it matters. Take the Ravens' 2012 Super Bowl run. Reed was 34 years old, basically ancient for an NFL safety, and he was still picking off Peyton Manning in the playoffs. Then he capped it all off by winning his first Super Bowl ring against the 49ers. And you could just feel how much his teammates respected him. Ray Lewis, the heart of that Ravens defense, once said Reed was like the quarterback of the secondary. Coming from Lewis, that's high praise. Let me throw this one to you guys. If you had to pick one safety in NFL history to make a game-winning play in the Super Bowl, Troy Polamalu or Ed Reed, who are you taking? I know Steelers fans are going to flood the comments, but hey, that's what makes it fun. 4. Versatility. Now, a lot of people think of Reed as just a deep safety sitting back waiting to pounce. But the dude was versatile. He blocked punts. He forced fumbles. He made tackles in the box when needed. And of course, he was dangerous with the ball in his hands. Here's a wild stat. Ed Reed scored 13 total touchdowns in his career on defense and special teams. That's the kind of production some wide receivers don't even hit. And it wasn't just about highlight plays. Reed had the rare ability to control the flow of a game. Opposing coordinators would have to scrap half their playbook if they saw him lined up deep. That's the definition of versatility. He changed the game plan before the ball was even snapped. Let me know if you agree with this take. Reed might have been the closest thing we've ever seen to a defensive quarterback. He wasn't just reacting, he was dictating what the offense could and couldn't do. 5. Recognition and legacy. Now let's talk about the hardware. U 9 Pro Bowler. 5 times first-team All-Pro. 2004 Defensive Player of the Year. NFL 2000's All-Decade Team. NFL 100 All-Time Team. First ballot Hall of Famer in 2019. But here's the thing. Reed's legacy isn't just about awards. It's about how his peers talk about him. When Tom Brady, arguably the greatest QB ever, calls you the hardest defender he ever faced, that's better than any trophy. When Peyton Manning admits you got inside his head, that's legacy. When your own teammates say you redefined what it meant to play safety, that's generational impact. And here's a fun connection to today. You see guys like Minkah Fitzpatrick or Tyrann Mathieu, those do-it-all safeties who fly around and make plays? That's Ed Reed's influence. He paved the way for the modern playmaking safety archetype. 6. Hypothetical scenarios. Let's play a little what-if game. What if Ed Reed and Deion Sanders had played in the same secondary? Quarterbacks might have just taken knees every play. What if Reed had been drafted by the Patriots and paired with Belichick and Brady? Would the Pats have won even more Super Bowls? That's a scary thought. Or here's a big one. If you dropped Ed Reed into today's NFL, with all these pass-heavy offenses and rules that protect receivers, would he have even more interceptions? I honestly think he'd break records that would never be touched. Conclusion. So, how good was Ed Reed actually? He wasn't just good. He was era-defining. The kind of player who forced offenses to rethink their entire strategy. He was a ball hawk, a film junkie, a clutch performer, and a leader. If you're building an all-time defense, Ed Reed is your free safety. No questions asked. But now I want to hear from you. What do you rank Ed Reed all-time? Is he the greatest safety ever? Or do you give that crown to someone like Ronnie Lott or Troy Polamalu? Drop your answers in the comments. And don't forget to tell me your favorite Ed Reed moment. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around, because we've got more legendary breakdowns coming your way.